Greetings, my fellow freedom loving sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Wednesday, January 13th, 2016. Yep, looks like a few more days from now. It's going to be the weekend for Martin Luther King. And one moment, please. Yeah, well, one of my colleagues I haven't seen in a while just said hello, so it's all good. But yeah, so just that time of the day, you know, it was a little bit cloudy and so forth, and I had some personal conflicts, but it's okay at this time. And I will give you my brief intake when I went down to that Miami's protest to shut down Guantanamo Bay. I would say it was good. And of course, you have those individuals out there from different organizations. If you hear my podcast, you understand what I'm talking about. They love using that word capitalism, it's wicked capitalism, capitalism, capitalism. You know, those buzzwords. They're trying to drill it in our heads. And in my view, like I made a little color commentary on that, I go, no, it's not capitalism at all. It's tyranny. It doesn't matter what form of economics it is. When governments try to control us on our natural born rights, trying to put us into fear is called tyranny. So the whole thing is more of corporatism rather than capitalism, because this is how these individuals think. But on the other hand, thereafter, we all stood as one on closing down Guantanamo Bay. We did talk about the United States as an empire, which I agree with. It is irrelevant. We should be back to as a republic. But you're always going to have those few people that's going to speak from Cold Pink and um, some of you guys from Socialist Club and so forth. But I'm not going to go bashing them completely. But you have to always be careful with those buzzwords, especially the word democracy or empire and capitalism is bad. And you can't really, to me, it's like trying to throw a curveball at you. But every time you throw a curveball at me, I can hit a home run because I know exactly what they're going to with that. It always hits the wall when it comes around me. It's not being arrogant, but when you inform, you educate yourself, plus go and examine these areas. But I would say thereafter it was really good. The people were great. There was no bickering amongst each other. We had like great conversations. Even my pastor Craig Watts was there from Royal Palm Church. He was not. He was good. It's good to see him there. And like I said, everyone has their disputes, you know. But we stood as one on this particular event, which is essential because truth of the matter is, my friends, there are arrogant SOBs out there that trying to pull the strings on all of, trying to play the puppet master and wants us to fight. They want us on the chessboard. And when we start uniting and looking at what we have in common, we can really drive those tyrants crazy. So hopefully next time it'll be a bigger crowd, and the speakers were good overall. But you always gotta read between the lines. I have no regret going down there. You can hear my podcast. I want to try to. I've been a little bit busy. I want to try to get the photos up as soon as possible, and they came out pretty good overall. I was pretty amazed. But some of these new cell phones I have is using them as cameras, and it does the job. So like I said, it's really, I did have a good time down there, and I had people from different groups, but I didn't go after them. We just focused on that particular thing, on indefinite detention and so forth, and even because if you don't, you have to remember that it happened so many times in the past by governments as a whole across the board around the world. So that's why I always stress to people, wherever you live, never trust the government, period. It's in Latin means control of the mind. So that was my personal intake on that. And I'm not saying it was worth going down there and had a good time. And so that's why something happened last minute, so I had to hustle back up there, take care of a few things. So, but like I said, it was a success, and I thank everyone for coming out there, sharing their views with me on the show, and I thank them dearly. And there's a few other people who did podcasts in there as well, which is awesome. I see more of us out there networking, aligned with one another. So, and like I said, it's really good. I hopefully will do another event like that as soon as possible. All right. Speaking of certain things, we got to look at the whole fight the TPP. The TPP is a threat to democracy everywhere. I like to say like democracy everywhere. It's like a buzzword again, democracy. But the whole thing with the TPP, like I've been saying in the past, and even if I got a chat with Fred Frost from the Communication Workers of America. I had a brief interview with him on the whole thing with the TPP. He agrees is the road to technocracy, and there's a link on here you should check out. It says here TPP is a threat to democracy everywhere. Congress will vote soon. I think they already passed it, but we told Congress not to vote no on the TPP from Fight for the Future. It says here Congress will vote on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a secretive agreement negotiated by government bureaucrats and corporate lobbyists. If ratified, it poses an urgent threat to our democracy, jobs, the environment, and the internet. And there's a link. You can learn more about it. So it's more going to the technocratic world. So I would say check out a couple movies or read a book on 1984 or a couple movies, THX 1138, by George Lucas, by the way, and the original Rollerball with James Caan. All right, the original one, not the new one with the LL Cool J. I haven't seen it, but people told me it was horrible. But get the original one; it's pretty good, and it can really give you a bigger reflection of what the TPP can do. And of course, there's a link in the bottom. Okay, you can join them on Twitter. Join the Twitter army to fight the TPP. There's a link for that, and there's a video on here as well. The dirtiest trade TPP, the dirtiest trade deal you never heard of, and you can read it, the preamble and all that. So we're just gonna, we'll just check out the video on here. It's more of an audio version, but we'll just check that out. And it's like 2 minutes 41 seconds long. So I'll give you a sampler.
Right now, big banking, software, pharmaceutical, and tobacco corporations are lobbying governments from 12 countries to negotiate the dirtiest deal you've never heard of. There's a reason you haven't heard of the TPP, or Trans-Pacific Partnership. There are some major corporations and government officials that don't want you to know what's in the deal. For one, our food safety standards, environmental protections, and local labor laws could all be threatened under the TPP. We could all be forced to pay significantly more for the medicines we need, and you could be fined or even sent to jail for downloading copyrighted content on the internet. How will they know if you do it? Because your internet service providers could be required to watch your online activity. But that's not even the scariest part. The TPP gives corporations the power to sue our government in secret foreign tribunals over any law or regulation they claim affects their expected future profits. Don't believe it? It's already happening. Recently, after Canada said U.S. big pharma corporation Eli Lilly's drug price-raising patents were not legit, the firm sued the Canadian taxpayers for a staggering $500 million. And now billions of dollars are being demanded from Germany after it decided to phase out nuclear power following the Fukushima disaster and improve environmental standards for coal-fired electric plants. Philip Morris and Chevron are in on the game too, raiding taxpayer dollars and trying to reverse crucial policies we all rely on. Thankfully, not everyone is willing to sign on the dotted line just yet. In fact, most government officials still have no idea what they're even signing on to, for good reason. So far, Democrats and Republicans in the House of Representatives have united against fast-tracking the TPP. But there is a mighty corporate lobby that wants to make sure the deal is signed and railroaded quickly through Congress before we know about the damage it will cause us. We must get our senators and representatives to stop fast track. Here's the deal. Without a strong public outcry, politicians will only hear the concerns of multinational corporations. And once the TPP is signed, it's here forever. There's no expiration date and no separation clause. This dirty deal has been deliberately branded as a free trade agreement. It is anything but free for people like you and me. And it's not really about trade. It could cost us our internet freedom, labor rights, access to affordable medicine, the safety of our food, and protections that keep our water and air clean. Nobody wants to be stuck with a backroom deal we don't want and never voted for. Find out more, speak up, and spread the word.
Yep, you heard it. Speak up and spread the word. So all you folks out there, do have the technology and the ammunition to spread this out quick as possible. Doesn't matter what partisan political views you have. We all have something in common. It's don't globalism, New World Order 101. But it's interesting too. I like when they have this whole preamble, okay, on this whole TPP. And let's take a little glimpse at it. I like it says here. I like it says here. It says preamble. The parties up to this agreement resolving to establish a comprehensive regional agreement that promotes economic integration to liberalize trade and investment, bring economic growth and social benefits, create new opportunities for workers and businesses, contribute to raising living standards, benefit consumers, reduce poverty, and promote sustainable growth. It sounds like the World Bank when you think about it, right? Okay, it says here, strengthen the bonds of friendship and cooperation between them and their peoples, establishing on their respective rights and obligations under the Marrakesh Agreement, establishing the World Trade Organization. Can we say one world order? Oh, yeah, another example of saying God bless the new world order. Imperialism is the only way. And we'll continue on here. Recognize the differences in their levels of development and diversity of economies. Strengthen the competitiveness of their businesses and global markets, and enhance the competitiveness of their economies by promoting opportunities for business, including promoting the development and strengthening of regional supply chains. Oh, how astute. And we can just keep going and going and going. I'm not going to really waste my time reading all this, but a lot of people aren't too keen about this. Fight for the Future and American Frontier Foundation, Electronic Frontier Foundation, and the Communication Workers of America, which Fred Frost condemns with a passion and criticizes Debbie Wasserman Schultz for supporting this ludicrous proposal. And she's supposed to be a Democrat that supports the workers and go, I am AFL-CIO approved, but you know what? She probably never, ever maintained a union card, okay? So she's one of those individuals that love to use labor organizations to benefit her, and no one else. It's just the Republicans, too, so it's nothing new. Same crap, different package, I would say, correct? So definitely, folks, you gotta really look at this really thoroughly. It's this long, it has about 13 chapters, I believe, but they're nice and long. So I'm not gonna go the 30 chapters long and all that. So I'm not gonna go through it. You can take the time to look at this yourselves, but join him. I'm gonna join right now on the fight to TPP. Yes, I'm gonna join right now on here. But definitely, Internet Defense League. Yeah, I'll be a follower with them. But definitely, folks, you gotta really think about these things, because the bottom line is they don't really care about your living standards. They make it sound pretty, but the fine print is heinous. They didn't want anyone in Congress to read this first. They want to fast track it through. Hey, you guys are a bunch of litters, including the people who you represent. So you know what? You got to use this as toilet paper and send it back to them. All right, so enough of that on the TPP. And so I'm going to be hitting this one article right now. This is from The Guardian. I think it came out today, to be exact. By Spencer Ackerman. It says here, Revolutionary Guards released 10 U.S. sailors who entered Iranian waters. And we'll just continue on here. The 10 U.S. sailors who were captured by Revolutionary Guards after entering Iranian waters have been released. Soothing tensions during the week in which Iran is expected to receive the first wave of sanction relief from the landmark nuclear accords. The U.S. military confirmed the sailors released after the Guards issued a statement claiming that they were freed into international waters after an apology from Washington. We decided to release them after conducting a technical investigation and consultations with our national security officials, and also after establishing that their trespassing into the waters of the Islamic Republic was unintentional, and also receiving an apology from them. Read the statements from the FAR News Agency, which is affiliated to the Guards. And there's a related article on here. The sailors, 2 small Navy craft, briefly went missing on Tuesday while crossing the Gulf from Kuwait to Bahrain. Pentagon sources later said the vessels entered Iranian waters because of technical difficulties. On Wednesday, the Pentagon said the 10 U.S. Navy sailors safely returned to U.S. custody today after departing Iran. There are no indications the sailors were harmed during their brief detention. The sailors departed Farsi Island at 8:43 a.m. GMT aboard the two Riverine Command boats that had been operated when they lost contact with the U.S. Navy. They were later transferred ashore by the U.S. Navy aircraft. John Kerry, the U.S. Secretary of State, said he was pleased that the sailors had been returned. Also, want to thank the Iranian authorities for their cooperation and quick response. He told an audience at the National Defense University in Washington. There are always situations which, as everybody here knows, have the ability, if not properly guided, to get out of control. I'm appreciative for the quick and appropriate response to the Iranian authorities. The sailors have been treated properly, an indication of improved diplomatic relations. Kerry said, I think we can imagine how a similar situation might have played out 3 or 4 years ago. In fact, it is clear that today this kind of issue was able to be peacefully resolved and officially resolved, and that is a treatment to the critical role that diplomacy plays in keep the country safe, secure, and strong. Sailors received a medical screening on Wednesday morning aboard the guided missile cruiser USS Anzio. The Pentagon said they were expected to be transferred to the aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman. From there, they will be flown ashore in an unspecified point of reintegration. By the way, I was on that USS Harry S. Truman doing a show called Rockin' the USA. Did a show. There's a one big, beautiful, powerful aircraft carrier. I will say that. That was in 2002. I was on there. A lot of good history too. I learned the sailors there were very cooperative. And tell you one thing, these are big, powerful war machines, and always hope, pray the best for our sailors out there around the world. And and I am against an empire as well, and I say that in good faith. The Iranian claim of an apology was ambiguous. It was not clear whether Kerry officially apologized during the phone communications with his Iranian counterpart, Mohammad Javad Zarif, whether the apology, if true, had come from the sailors themselves. Kerry thanked Iran for the swift resolution of the incident, tweeting on John Kerry, peaceful and efficient resolution on this issue with a treatment to the critical role diplomacy plays in keeping our country secure and strong. The U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter said, I am pleased that 10 U.S. Navy sailors have departed Iran and are now back in U.S. hands. I want to personally thank the Secretary of State, John Kerry, for his diplomatic engagement with Iran to secure our sailors' swift return. Around the world, the U.S. Navy routinely provides assistance to foreign sailors in distress, and we appreciate the timely way in which the situation was resolved. A direct conversation between the Iranian foreign minister and U.S. counterpart would have been unthinkable just 5 years ago, and Carter's statement is indicative of the improvement of diplomatic relations between Washington and Tehran. The Revolutionary Guard's Navy chief and U.S. officials said mechanical trouble with one of the boats caused them to drift into Iranian territorial waters. The 10 U.S. detainees, 9 men, 1 woman, were held overnight at the Iranian base on Farsi Island. Tasnim News, affiliated to the Guards, have published a series of images showing their sailors in Iranian custody. Farsi, there's a map on the map. Fars said the 2 American boats were more than a mile inside Iranian waters when they were detained. The episode came amid heightening regional tension. Only 1 hour before Barack Obama was scheduled to deliver his final State of the Union address. And it says here, Revolutionary Guards patrol Iranian waters in the Gulf, especially near the Strait of Hormuz, a vital passageway through which a fifth of the world's oil passes in tankers. Iran's Navy has routinely professional exchanges with its U.S. and U.K. counterparts. There have been instances of heightened tension. In 2007, Iran captured 15 Royal Navy sailors and Marines during a maritime inspection near Iraq and held them for 13 days in a dispute episode that drew the world's attention. In December, the U.S. accused Revolutionary Guards of firing several unguided rockets near U.S. ships, including the USS Truman in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. later released videos showed the incident. Picture released there. There's a picture. The swift release of Americans contradicted speculation that the hardline Revolutionary Guards were seeking to sabotage improving relations between Iran and the West days before the planned implementation of the nuclear deal reached in Vienna in July. It has been established that the U.S. sailors drifted into Iranian territorial waters, and that the timing of the incident was irrelevant to the lifting of sanctions. The handlers issuing signals, a pattern of behavior by the guards have used, which have used similar circumstances to flex muscles both at home and abroad in the past. Adnan Tababai, an Iranian analyst, tweeted, Revolutionary Guards are controlled directly in Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah al-Khamenei. President Hassan Rouhani's government has no control over the guards' behavior internally and externally. In an unusual move, the guards last week condemned the attack by a group of hardliners on the Saudi embassy in Tehran, showing an approach in the line that with that of the Rouhani administration. Iran is believed to be only days away from implementation days when the International Atomic Energy Agency will verify that Tehran has taken all necessary steps under the nuclear accord to the West to lift economic sanctions. All nuclear-related sanctions, including embargo on the imports of Iranian oil, will be lifted by the EU. The U.S. will waive them by the order of the president. At least $100 billion or 74 billion pounds of frozen assets will also be released to Iran. Rouhani is pushing efforts to speed up implementation of the deal to bring about tangible relief from sanctions before parliamentary elections in February. Hardliners are worried about such an event would bolster his profile just before the election period. Once Iran finishes swapping the cores of heavy war nuclear reactors at Iraq with cement, they will receive an influx of cash under the July deal. However, deep-seated acrimony between Washington and Tehran has hardly ebbed. The U.S. is expected to launch a different series of sanctions in response to Iran's recent ballistic missile tests, which are outside the scope of the nuclear deal but violate a UN Security Council prohibition. So, pretty interesting here on what's going on. What happened with that? At least it was done peacefully. And the truth of the matter is, people don't want to fight. They don't want to go to war with one another. At least it was done honorably. They were taken care of, and things do happen. So cooler heads prevail. So, and I know people are gonna get slack. You may get slack about, oh well, we should go in and attack Iran, this and that. You know what? If those people have that mindset, you go on the front line. Let's see how tough you really are. So, at least I can say it was done rationally. So, and we may have political differences, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But no one wants to go to war. The soldiers don't want to go to war by any means, by both sides. So, at least it was done, ironed out, and hopefully it will stay that way. But always got to pay attention wherever we do, not just with the foreign enemies, but domestic as well. All right, this is from the antimedia.org, and this is by Derek Bros, which he's from Houston's Free Thinkers, to be exact, based out of Houston, Texas. It says here, the U.S. government has an internet kill switch, and it's none of your business. The Supreme Court has refused to hear a petition concerning the Department of Homeland Security's secretive internet and cell phone kill switch program. Thank you. You guys are so wonderful. All right, I'm going to continue on here. On Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear a petition from the Electronic Privacy Information Center, or EPIC, has sought to force the Department of Homeland Security to release details of a secret kill switch protocol to shut down cell phone and internet service during emergencies. EPIC has been fighting since 2011 to release the details of the program, which is known as a Standard Operating Procedure 303. EPIC writes on March 9, 2006, National Communication System approved SOP 303. However, it was released to the public. This secret document codifies a shutdown and restoration process for use by commercial and private wireless networks during national crisis. EPIC continues in a 2006-2007 report, the President's National Security Telecommunications Advisory indicates that SOP 303 will be implemented under the coordination of the National Coordinating Center of the NST or NASDAQ, NSTAC, while a decision to shut down service would be made by state Homeland Security advisors or individuals at DHS. The report indicates that the NCC will determine if a shutdown is necessary based on a series of questions. Despite Epic's defeat at the hand of the Supreme Court, the 4-year court battle yielded a heavily redacted copy standard of operating procedure 303. There's a link for that, so you can check it out yourselves. Fight for transparency regarding SOP 303 began shortly after a Bay Area Rapid Transit, or BART, officer in San Francisco shot and killed a homeless man named Charles Hill on July 3rd, 2011. The shooting sparked massive protests against BART throughout July and August of 2011. During one of these protests, BART officials cut off cell phone service inside our 4 transit stations for 3 hours. This kept anyone on the station platform from sending or receiving phone calls, messages, or other data. To always try to get other gadgets on there, okay, folks? Get your story out. In July 2012, Epic submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to DHS seeking a full text on the standard operating procedure 303, full text for the predetermined series of questions that determines if a shutdown is necessary and any executing protocols related to the implementation of the standard operating procedures distributed to DHS, other federal agencies, or private companies. After DHS fought the FOIA release, a district court in Washington, D.C. ruled in Epic's favor, but that ruling was later overturned by the Court of Appeals. The appeals court told Epic the government was free to withhold details of the plan under the Freedom of Information Act because the information might endanger the public. What? In 2015, the Digital Rights Group asked the Supreme Court to review the ruling by the Federal Appeals Court, with the Supreme Court's refusal to address Epic's petition. The issue seemed to have reached a dead end. The American people are once again left in the dark regarding the inner workings of another dangerous and intrusive government program. It is only through the hard work of activists and groups like Epic that we are at least aware of the existence of this program. But knowing bits and pieces about the protocol is not enough. In order to combat such heavy-handed measures, we need to have access to the government's own documents. Hopefully there is already a whistleblower preparing to release these details. What we do with the information we do have is up to each of us as individuals. We can sit back and watch the United States further devolve into a militarized police or surveillance state, or we can spread this information, get locally involved locally, and create new systems outside the current paradigm of control and exploitation. But there is an article on here, free and open source. You can check it out yourselves. But like I said, my friends, welcome to 1984. And of course, this is how they want it. And they said, oh, we don't trust the American people. We don't trust the citizens. But right there, it proves one thing. The Supreme Court are Uncle Toms to the multinational corporate. Uncle Toms and Angel Mamas to the multinational corporation, the one world order. Like I said before, the United States is considered a federal corporation under Title 28, U.S. Code Section 3032, subsection 15. So that's what they're going by. The corporate way. Real folks love tyranny. The corporation way. That's how you do it. So it is disturbing. But the whole thing is what's going to be happening, and many of us are predicting soon what's going to happen. We're going to have our own internet servers, and it's going to drive those bastards insane. So you got to spread this information to everyone you know. Okay, that is a fact. You got to really do this. Even share this episode to everyone as well. Like I always tell folks, feel free to download and share us without your social media network. It is essential. I'm saying I don't have all the answers, but at least I'm giving you the input. What is happening? Because there's so much stories, reports are going out there. We can't devour it all at one time. So everyone out there needs to take the initiative to your own shows, your own blogs, and even handle this information to people. Talk on a local level. You want to plant the seed, not an old tree. You can't cry to Washington. You got to create brush fires on a local level, then it will spread on state and federal. So Derek Bros, he's always been good. I always enjoy listening to him and reading his articles. And yeah, check in the antimedia.org and spread it out. All right. So this next one here came out on the 11th. It's from the press room from Judicial Watch. It says here, State Department finds new records in Clinton's FOIA legislation. As it reads here, Judicial Watch announced today that the Obama State Department recently found thousands of new records from Hillary's tenure as Secretary of State. According to information provided to Judicial Watch, various Justice Department attorneys, the new documents appear to be working records in electronic format located on both shared and individual drives accessible to or used by persons identified as being relevant to Judicial Watch Freedom of Information Act lawsuits on the Benghazi scandals and controversies from Clinton's terms at state. The State Department confirmed the new find in a court filing late this past Friday in a FOIA lawsuit concerning records about Clinton's aide Hama Abedin. After the state filed its motion for summary judgment in the case on November 11, 2015, state located additional sources of documents that originate within the office of the secretary that are reasonably likely to contain records responsive to plaintiff's request. State has informed plaintiff that intends to search these locations to produce non-exempt proportions of any responsive records and to file a supplemental declaration in support of this motion for summary judgment, which is presently stayed. The State Department seeks at least until February 1st to provide additional information about these new records. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton made a following statement in response to the new disclosures. This latest find, Clinton records at this late date, is astonishing. The State Department waited to the last possible moment, as we did with the Clinton emails, to tell Judicial Watch and the federal courts about thousands of records that haven't been searched as the law requires. Who knew what, and when they know it about these new Clinton documents. These newly recovered Clinton records are potential game changer and will be of interest to the courts, Congress, and the FBI's criminal investigation. It sure does look like more of the same in terms of the Obama administration officials obstructing our FOIA request, obstructing the courts, obstructing Congress, and obstructing justice. Judicial Watch exposed this new cover-up on the heels of a finding by State Department's Inspector General that Hillary Clinton and the Obama State Department thwarted specific Judicial Watch FOIA requests by lying about her email system with inaccurate and incomplete responses. Well, Judicial Watch does it again. I know the movie's coming out, the whole thing on Benghazi, too, so they claim that the people who were involved, some of the soldiers or Marines that were involved, say it was very accurate, believe they were technical advisors. But this is going to be interesting because we don't know if Hillary Clinton is going to suspend her campaign or not because there's so much ammunition against her. And plus, her health is deteriorating because a lot of us are examining that. And I'm not, I can't stand this woman whatsoever. But I'm not going to beat anyone when they're down. They're all going to meet their fate. So this is really interesting. And I was informed, too, the Federal Bureau, the FBI, is still investigating this particular case, and she can be indicted on felony charges. So we have to wait on that. But one thing about Judicial Watch, they know how to give it to them. So if you're not a member of this organization, go to judicialwatch.org and do support these folks. I got to do this as well. I've always been fond of their work and what they achieve and how much impact they got people thinking. So definitely, go out there, check them out, man. You won't be disappointed. You sign for their updates as well. Subscribe to them. Now, this is why. And one thing about them, because no one is above the law. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, etc. Okay, so definitely check them out. And This one here is very, very interesting. This is from accuracyinmedia.org. And it came out yesterday. It's by James Simpson. This one's entitled The Roots of Black Lives Matter. And this is what he has to say here. Reds exploiting blacks, the roots of Black Lives Matter. This is a report from AIM Center for Investigative Journalism. As it reads here, the Black Lives Matter movement casts itself as a spontaneous uprising born of inner city frustration, but is in fact the latest and most dangerous face of a web and well-funded communist socialist organizations that have been agitating against America for decades. Its agitation has provoked police killings and other violence, lawlessness, and unrest in minority communities throughout the U.S. If allowed to continue, that agitation could devolve into anarchy and civil war. The BLM crowd appears to be spoiling for just such an outcome. Nevertheless, the BLM appears to be exercising considerable leverage over the Democratic Party, in part by pressuring and intimidating Democratic candidates such as Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, which he's from Vermont. And I've seen that in Seattle, by the way. There's a video on that when Bernie Sanders was in Seattle. A couple of them act like glamour. I speak now, like a little bunch of glamour girls that probably never had a hard days at work. They have like palm-olive hands. Okay, I'm gonna, keep on here to embracing their cause. The movement could also assist President Obama's exploitation of racial division in society beyond his final terms in office. Remember, folks, we could say mind control 101. More Steve will manifest over this as well from the Southern Poverty Law Center. All right, I will continue. I will proceed. This report examines in detail for the first time how communist groups have manipulated the cause of Black Lives Matter and how money from liberal foundations has made it all possible. Leftist origin. Exploiting blacks to promote Marxist revolution is an old tactic. The late Larry Graswell, former FBI informant in the Weather Underground, understood from personal experience how white communists exploit blacks and other minority groups. He said that the Weather Underground terrorists Bill Ayers and Bardeen Dorn regarded Barack Obama, whose political career they sponsored, as a tool, a puppet to use against white America. Obama's legacy at home will certainly include more racial division. BLM launched in 2013 in a Twitter hashtag Black Lives Matter after neighboring Watchman George Zimmerman was acquitted in Trayvon Martin killing. Radical leftists Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Apal Tamedi claim credit for the slogan and hashtag. Following the Michael Brown shooting in August 2014, Dream Defenders, an organization led by Working Family Party, Acorn, activist, and Occupy Wall Street anarchist Nalini Stamp, popularized the phrase "hands up, don't shoot," which since become BLM's widely recognized slogan. Garza, Cullors, Tamedi, all the work for front groups of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. Interesting, because I'll say this: that particular group some representatives were down at that Miami rally on shutting down Guantanamo Bay. Fruzo. All right, one of the four largest radical left organizations in the country. The others are the Communist Party USA, Democratic Socialists of America, and Committees of Correspondence for Democracy and Socialism. Manelli Stamp, Acorn, now rebranded under a variety of different names, work with all four organizations. Dream Defenders backed up by Service Employees International Union, the ACLU, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, and others. Hey, can we say Quackman Morris Dees? Come on. He has the audacity to say Ron Paul was a potential terrorist. Okay, it tells you how pathetic this man is, and I've been keeping an eye on that clown for over 2 decades. All right, so that's why I'm always trying to be awakened and plus pay attention. All right, it says here, Furso is a hereditary decadent of the new communist movement, which was inspired by Mao and many communist revolutions throughout the world in the 1960s and 70s. Furso split into 2 separate groups in 1999, Furso and Fight Back, and Furso and OSCL, which is a Freedom Road Socialist Organization, and Organizing and Socialism now Camino Pa La Libertad. Black Lives Matter and its founders are allied with the latter group, the future reference for Furzo in the article of Furzo/OSCL. Furzo is comprised by dozens of groups. The radical left model, based on the alliance of many organizations that are working on separate issues but dedicated ultimately to do the same thing. Overthrowing our society in order to replace it with a hardcore socialist or re-communist one. The goal is to present the appearance of a formal mass of organizations, some large, but many are little more than a website or Facebook page. When necessary, they all come together to promote the cause du jour. The deaths of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and others were mere pretexts for socialist agitation. The real enemy is the system. This is why the BLM crowd denies the fact of those cases. As Stamp says, we are actually trying to change the capitalist system we have today because it's not working for any of us. What are you talking about? Capitalism. Open free market? See, that's what I'm saying. They love to use those buzzwords, my friends. I don't care what your views are. You have to pay attention to the buzzwords. They're trying to sell you a product. They're trying to con you, manipulate. And don't worry, it happens in all avenues. This is just a prime example. And I will continue on here. BLM is one of many projects undertaken by Furzo, except for the website blacklivesmatter.com. There is no actual organization. The website implicitly acknowledged this, describing hashtag Black Lives Matters as an online forum intended to build connection between black people and our allies, to fight anti-black racism, to spark dialogue among black people, and to facilitate the types of connections necessary to encourage social action and engagement. Furzo membership is disproportionately represented by blacks, gays, and women, and self-consciously emphasizes those issues. Garza, who penned her story of BLM, is a queer black veteran activist in numerous Furzo organizations. Her resume includes Special Projects Director, National Domestic Workers Alliance, Executive Director, People Organized to Win Employment, Rights, Power, Board Member, School of Unity and Liberation, which is acronym for SOUL, 2011 Board Chair, Right to the City Alliance, RTTC. Coolers described herself as a working-class queer black woman. She claimed after the country killed her father, a drug addict, and at 2015 Netroots Nation Conference, Coolers led chant shouting, "If I die in police custody, burn everything down. Rise the fuck up." Excuse me, but this is the language she's used. It's inappropriate, which I understand. But I have to say it all specifically, so bear with me, okay? That's the only way motherfuckers like you will listen. Fur was founded and directed Dignity and Power Now, to DPN, which claimed to seek dignity and power of incarcerated people, their families, and communities. Coolers was trained by Eric Mann, a former Weather Underground leader who exhorts followers to become anti-racist, anti-imperialist activities. Mann runs another Furzo front, the Labor Community Strategy Center. Like most professional leftists, he makes good money, over $225,000 annually, living in the system he advocates destroying. What, according to this article, he's a hypocrite. Hey, come on. Think about this, my friends. If you out in the front line trying to fight the system, and you got someone like him, according to this article, making $225,000 annually, how come you're not going to turn the tables on Mr. Man, allegedly speaking? So you know why? Because they're like everyone else. They're a bunch of hypocrites. And if you're going to get caught hook, line, and sinker, you are the victim of the Jim Jones syndrome. Tornady is the daughter of illegal aliens from Nigeria. While in college, she worked for the ACLU, defending illegal aliens against vigilantes opposed to illegal immigration. She is currently director for a Black Alliance for Just Immigration, or BAJI. The funding for the BLM organization are generously supported by a universe of wealthy foundations. Some, like those employing BML founders Garza and Tometi, receive money directly. Others, like Colors, DPN, are financed by organizations designed specifically to underwrite the activities of others. The amount reflects donations received over approximately the past decade. NDWA Garza 2013 revenues were $5.5 million. The NDWA board includes 2 members of Casa de Maryland, the illegal version of Acorn. Casa also received a grant from NDWA in 2013 as the Radical Left, the Institute for Political Studies. NDWA received funding from the following foundations. Check this out. Their major donors: Ben & Jerry's, $30,000. Ford, $1,910,000. Kellogg, $250,000. Marguerite Casey, $450,000. Nathan Cummings, $500,000. Oak, $489,500. Rockefeller, $134,000. Soros Fund, $1,344,846. Sunda, $235,000. Others, $777,550 for a total of $6,120,896. Interesting. You can check out the links for yourself. You can make that own decision. And we'll continue on here. Para Garza, 2013 revenues were $456,667, including $92,173 in government grants. Government grants. Oh my goodness, check this out. If it was Stormfront, they'll be going. If Stormfront would have got this money, all hell would have broke loose. Okay, just think about this. That's why I'm laughing. It's like your money's being extorted. Hey man, hey, but they want you to they're against socialism, but they want you to redistribute the wealth. And you know what? How come these conservatives are going after these people on this? Gotta really just think about it. So I will continue on here. Storm evolved from a new defunct communist group, Storm, standing together to organize a revolutionary movement. Obama's former Green Job czar, the self-described communist Van Jones, on Storm's board. Here's a major power foundation donors. Account ID, $145,000. Ben & Jerry's, $62,000. California Wellness, $300,000. Hill Snowden, $258,000. Marguerite Casey, $655,000. Public Welfare, $301,000. Robert Wood Johnson, $125,000. $316. Surdna, $464,000. Tides, $168,000. Others, $694,894 for a total of $3,173,210. The RTTC from Garza again. 2013 revenues were $240,109. RRTC is a nationwide organization of activist organizations that resist of gentrifications of inner cities because it displaces low-income people of color, marginalized LGBTQ communities, and youth of colors. Here's their money, or their foundation. Akanadi, $120,000. Ben & Jerry's, $25,000. Ford, $1,325,000. Marguerite Casey, $300,000. Soros Funds, $600,000. Sund Na, $400,000. Tides, $165,000. Others, $402,500, and a total of $3,337,500. And how about the organization from Seoul? Despite all small sizes, 2013 revenues at $110,304. Seoul claims to have trained 679 organizers in 2013. And check this out. It's interesting. A Kanadi, $322,500. Heinz, remember Heinz ketchup? Yeah, $255,000. Hill Snowden, $142,500. Rockefeller, $210,000. I'm like tongue-tied here, sorry. San Francisco, $105,000. Surdna, $460,000. Tides, $298,000. Others, $290,750 for a total of $2,083,750. It's Baji, which is from Tometi to be exact. 2013 revenues were $321,570. Its Maz organization only lists 2 full-time staff, yet receives support from many recognizable foundations. Here's Baji's foundation donor. Ben & Jerry's, $10,000. Kellogg, $75,000. Marguerite Casey, $337,500. San Francisco, $75,600. Soros Funds, $200,000. Others, $175,000 for a total of $873,100. I gotta correct my back here, which is fine. And so, of course, you got here dollars. DPN is underwritten by community partners, a Los Angeles-based nonprofit with a $24 million budget. Wow, I'm doing this podcast for free. I'm not making any money. Good grief, including $4 million in government grants. Oh, your tax dollars at work, America. Oh yeah, you should be really be fascinated here. You know. All right, it says here, it's that fiscally sponsored nonprofits. It is not a for sale organization. Advancement Project, or AP, and Forzo Group that funds a variety of radical causes. AP sees America as a racist, oppressive nation, and according to Discovers and Networks, works to organize communities of color into politically cohesive units while decimating the leftist views and values as broadly as possible. By the way of a sophisticated communications department, its 2013 revenues were $11.3 million. Let's check to see what they have to say here. Their foundation donors: California Endowment, $7,354,814. Ford, $8,466,000. Hallett, they do a lot of printers. The technology, $2,465,000. James Irving, $2,542,500. Kellogg, $3 million. Rockefeller, $2,460,000. Soros Funds, $8,565,275. Tides, $1,260,540. Vanguard, $1,691,000. All others, $16,777,157. For a total of $54,572,286. And people talking about helping the community and all that, right? Check that out. Good grief. The Movement Strategy Center, or MSC, also facilities funding, development, and advancement with Farzo organizations. Its 2013 revenues were $7.5 million, including $156,032 in government grants. Major MSC Foundation donors: Akandati, $1,094,500. Ben & Jerry's, $60,000. California Endowment, $2,325,862. Ford, $1,762,500. Robert Johnson, $378,750. Rockefeller, $398,000. San Francisco Foundation, $551,206. Soros Funds, $1,100,000. CERNA, $1,445,000. Tides, $1,607,000. Excuse me, $1,607,000. All others, $4,541,469. A total of $15,264,287. Interesting. The return of Van Jones. Mainstream funders have helped fund BLM as well. For example, United Way has partnered with A&E and iHeartMedia to create the Sunshining Delight Advisors, a committee nationally known to experts and leaders in racial and social justice to oversee grants disbursements. Those advisors include such radicals as Van Jones, Advanced Project co-director Judith Brown Giannis, and Rick New Sen, president of the Applied Research Center, or ARC. BLM's mission includes a kitchen sink of favorite radical left causes, includes supporting of poverty elimination programs, prison decentralization, illegal immigration, and gay rights, highlighting Furzo's orientation towards gay blacks. It describes how black, queer, and trans folks bear a unique burden from a hetero patriarchal society that disposes of us like garbage and simultaneously fetishizes us and profits off of us, and that is state violence. Its worldwide, its network of affiliates and partner organizations like CPUSA and Acorn allows BLM to turn out large crowds. Many participate to simply protest, commit violence, and loot, or all three. Furzo was prominent at a Ferguson protest and videoed the event. It had even created Black Lives Matter button. Following are more Furzo organizations involved with BLM. Funding estimates provided when known. Black Left Unity, a Marxist-Leninist organization that supports favored cause of the communist left, including unity with Cuba, war against capitalism, and Occupy Wall Street. Well. See, the war against capitalism, yeah, and we got corporations donating money to us. What a bunch of hypocrites, man. I love it. This is awesome. I have to admit. It's like when you see these movements, man, you always gotta, like I said, you always gotta examine things strategically, man. Just read some through the art of war when you have a chance, okay? Black Workers for Justice, a North Carolina-based group which claims struggle on behalf of oppressed nationalities, etc. Causa Justa, Just Cause, a Black Latino solidarity organization allied with Grassroots Global Justice Alliance, RTTC, and others. Its 2013 revenues were $1.6 million, including $689,484 in government grants. Hallelujah! Okay, so if I was weak and pathetic, I could and support tyranny, I can get the money. What a concept! Grassroots Global Justice Alliance, a national alliance of U.S.-based grassroots organizations, GRO groups organizing to build an agenda for power for working and poor people and communities of color. Hands Up United, work for liberation of oppressed blacks, browns, and poor people through education, art, civil disobedience, advocacy, and agriculture. Well, go do something productive for once. There you go. This is totally insane here. Intelligent Mischief, their Black Body Survival Guide is in the works. That has raised over $8,000 through Indiegogo. Organization for Black Struggle, OBS. This organization is affiliated with the CPUSA. Its website claims its allies as Black Workers for Justice and the Advancement Project, chaired by Frozo member Montague Simmons. Revolutionary Student Coordinating Committee, a militant group funded by in 2012 by CUNY students. It is network at different U.S. colleges. The group organized the infamous pro-abortion Hail Satan chant at Texas Capitol. It is extremism is captured in the following video. I think what would Anton LaVey say about that? Because remember, he was against abortion, by the way, according to the Black Flame. You can read some of the Black Flame stuff. And Anton LaVey was against abortion. He believed in responsibility for responsible. I'm not saying I'm praising the man by any means, but he did. I have taken the initiative on reading some of his work. Okay, so I will continue on here. Showing Up for Racial Justice, or SURJ, is a national network group and individuals organizing white people for racial injustice. SURJ quotes Garza saying that we need you defecting from white supremacy and changing the narrative of white supremacy by breaking white silence. That's more like a white guilt thing. Please, don't apologize for being a Caucasian. Please, I didn't mean, I wasn't even born, but I didn't mean to get inherited by all these white privilege. Let me tell you something. I don't need permission from the government. My rights are natural born. Okay, but this is what I gotta say. People gotta start exercising themselves. You don't need these organizations. Each and every individual, freedom-loving, sovereign-thinking folk can take the initiative and stand up for what's right. Remember, a little rebellion now and then is good. We'll continue on. Strategic concepts in organizing and policy education, or what they call SCOPE. Its 2013 revenues were $2.8 million, led by Anthony Thigpen, a former Black Panther and board member of the Apollo Alliance. Apollo is a secretive alliance of labor, environment, and other left activists that formulated Obama's $1 trillion stimulus plan. Board member Van Jones described Apollo, a sort of a grand unified field theory for progressive left causes, is now the project of the Blue-Green Alliance. And here's what Scopes Foundation donors, California Endowment, $3,627,037. Carnegie, $300,000. Ford, $4,860,000. Haas, $750,000. Hallett, $1,475,000. James Irvin, $2,750,000. Margaret Wright Casey, $2 million. New World, $1,540,000. Open Society by Soros himself, $650,000. Rockefeller, $705,000. Tides, $410,000. Others, $3,678,857. It's a total of $22,745,894. BLM groups have joined with CPUSA, CCDS, DSA, SEIU, Color of Change, and many others. Anarchists and top WOWS organizers Lisa Vivian, who orchestrated the 1999 Seattle World Trade Organization riots, trained Ferguson protesters. Vivian said, create crisis because crisis is at the edge where change is possible. Vivian echoed Richard Clower and Francis Fox Piven, creators of the infamous Cloward-Piven crisis strategy, who spent decades attempting to provoke ghetto blacks to riot because poor people can only advance when the rest of society is afraid of them. Rasheen Aldridge, seen above the meeting of President Obama, was a leader of the Ferguson protests. He has participated in numerous CPUSA events in 2013, 2014, and 2015. Another prominent CPUSA member active in the BLM protests is Michael McPherson, who leads the Don't Shoot Coalition. Carl Davidson and Pat Fry, co-chairs of CCDS, exploited the revolutionary atmosphere of the Ferguson riots to create an 8-point plan for left unity, demanding a common aspiration for socialism. Missouri Organizing, Reform, Empowerment, or more is Missouri rebranded Acorn Group, is created an illustrative chart offering a snapshot of the left grievance agenda. Capitalism is always a problem, socialism is always a solution. And they have this corporate capitalism, all these things, our fast food companies and all that. So they believe socialism is a solution. But you gotta say corporatism, okay? Not capitalism. Good grief. Get your facts straight, people. And that's why I call out these activists. I call out these so-called experts, and they just can't stand me. I had one guy dressed up as a beatnik wannabe hippie who was at Occupy Fort Lauderdale rally. We're in front of the Wells Fargo's about homes being foreclosed. This is what capitalism's all about. I go, wrong, buddy. It's fascism. It's corporatism. Get your facts straight, please. He couldn't reply, but he avoided me like a plague the rest of the day because he knew I got him. Interestingly, Moore doesn't believe in socialism when it's footing the bill. Moore promised to pay for his protest $5,000 a month to hang out and cause trouble. So they say, hey, they're not inspired but hired. There's been a lot of reports on that as well. But as Acorn stiffed its employees while preaching socialist generosity, Moore stiffed the protesters. I got the great swindle. Islamist organizations have also jumped on the BLM bandwagon, reminding us of the unholy alliance that exists between them and the radical left. In September 2015, the Muslim Brotherhood Front Group Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, joined BLM activists in storming California Governor Jerry Brown's office. CARE also participated in the Ferguson protest. Meanwhile, ISIS is recruiting American blacks for its cause. Hey, can we say New World Order at it again? ISIS? ISIL? And IS? Oh, yeah. Too obvious, my friends. I think AIM should need to talk about the New World Order itself. It's something to think about, Intellectual genealogy of Black Lives Matter. We must be ready to employ trickery, deceit, law-breaking, withholding, and concealing truth. We can and must write in a language which sows among masses with hate, revulsion, and scorn. Those towards who disagree with us. That's Vladimir Lenin. Well, my view is to support democratic resistance, including those individuals. That quote from the Soviet Union's first leader captures the entire essence of the left's strategy. No matter what the issue, no matter what the fact, the left advance are relentless. Hate-filled narrative that America is irredeemably evil and must be destroyed as soon as possible. The BLM movement is the latest, but perhaps most dangerous variant on this divisive theme. Communists uses language and psychology as weapons. Yep, Communist Manifesto. Even look at propaganda by Edward Bernays. Okay, look it up. It's online, by the way. So you should get those things online as well. So check it out. It puts America and Americans on trial. The verdict is always guilty. Facts doesn't matter because the left does not want to resolve the problems they complain about. They use those problems to agitate and provoke, hoping conflict becomes unavoidable, thereby creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Their hatred is tactical. Obama's favorite Harvard professor Derek Bell devised critical race theory, which exemplifies Lenin's strategy as applied to race, according to Discover's The Network. Critical race theory contends that America is permanently racist to its core, that consequently the nation's legal structures, by definition, racist and invalid. Members of the oppressed racial groups are entitled, in fact, obligated to determine for themselves which laws and traditions have merit and are worth observing. Bill's theory is in turn an innovation of critical theory developed by philosophers of the Communist Frankfurt School. The school was founded in Frankfurt, Germany in 1923. Its Jewish communist scholar fled Hitler's Germany in the 1930s, relocating to Columbia Teachers College in New York. Critical theory, which also discredits all aspects of Western society, rapidly infected the minds of newly minted college professors, who then spreads its poison throughout the university system. We know it today as political correctness. I just give the middle finger to the political correctness because I'm a ragtag maverick and proud rebel. Okay? Enough said. White privilege. The racist narrative was turbocharged with the concept of white privilege, the notion that whites, dominant group in capitalist America, are irrevocably racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, fill-in-the-blank, ophobic, imperialistic oppressors who exploit everyone. Whites are the only true evil in the world and should be exterminated. Yes, like I said, they want to give you that white guilt trip. I say defecate on them. And the ones that are non-white should do the same thing with these vultures. They're like psychic vampires. Okay, they want to suck you dry and brainwash you and go, lead the way, guide the crew, into the pit you go. The white privilege idea was created in 1967 by Noel Negative, an acolyte of Bell and professor at Harvard's W.E.B. Du Bois Institute. Du Bois was a communist black leader who helped found the NAACP. Of course, it's so obvious. I knew that a long time ago. The Negative was a member of the CP USA's most radical wing, the Maoist Status Provisional Organizing Committee, to reconstitute the Marxist-Leninist Communist Party, POC. POC was an intellectual forerunner to FRSO. Mao killed about 60, 80 million people in China alone. But they don't want you to know about that, right? Yeah, well, I do. I'll let you guys know about it. Writing under the alias Noel Ignatin, Ignative also co-authored an SDS pamphlet with fellow radical Ted Allen titled White Blind Spot. In 1992, he co-founded Race Trader, the journal of the New Abolitionism. Its first issue coined the slogan, "Treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity." Its stated objective was to abolish the white race. More specifically, the New Abolitionist newsletter stated, the way to abolish the white race is to challenge and disrupt, eventually overturn the institutions and behavior patterns that reproduce the privileges of whiteness, including the schools, jobs, and housing markets, and the criminal justice system. Excuse me here. The abolitionists do not limit themselves to socially acceptable means of protest, but reject in advance and new means of attaining their goal. Emphasis added. So, like I said, control. All right. It says here, but do not be confused. White does not mean white. White in radical construction means anyone of any race, creed, nationality, color, sex, or sexual preference who embrace capitalism, free markets, limited government, and American traditional culture and values. By definition, these beliefs are redeemably evil, and anyone who aligns them is a white in spirit and thus equally guilty of white crimes. Inga Teeve still teaches at the Massachusetts College of Art. I like to hear what the clown says. I'll probably be laughing at it. What's so funny is you, because you're a real lousy comedian. The Black Lives Matter movement carries this narrative to unprecedented heights, claiming that only whites can be racist. And while justifying violence to achieve social justice, the movement goal is to overthrow our society and replace it with a Marxist one. Many members of the black community would be shocked to learn that the intellectual godfathers of this movement are mostly white communists, queers, and leftist Democrats, intent of making blacks into cannon fodder for the revolution. I gotta say this. Always observe responsibly. Be strategic and methodical. Watch out. Don't be the victim of the Jim Jones syndrome. This is what's been happening, my friends, with these movements. You're always going to expect plants, provocateurs, double agents, etc. This is how they are. Movements, institutions, doesn't matter. Even happens in unions also. All right? And Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what paradigm you're in. You have to expect these cockroaches, I call them, puppet masters, control freaks. If it happens to a good friend of mine from who was a struggling occupier, they're trying to go after him because he spoke. He wanted true unity, true principles. And like myself, I even a person like myself, neocons and neo-libs hate my guts, including people like them. They try to get me out of these areas, but I always know how to counter it. Because I put out the truth, I put out love, and I use it in good faith. That's why you always got to observe, be strategic. Don't get sucked into these webs. Got to always observe thoroughly outside of the box. Don't get caught in these little stereotypical mind control propaganda. You got to break that matrix. They want us divided, my friends. This is an example of a one world order movement or establishment. They don't give a damn about any of us. You got good people rank and file in these movements. I'm not going to argue about that at all. But we always got to pay attention and be vigilant. Because those when you consider to be a threat, they're going to try to find a way to get rid of you one way or the other. Happened a lot of good people who've been tarnished their reputation and you haven't seen them since or heard about them. This is why you got to really look at everything a lot broader than what they interpret to you. That's why I say I like to do parody of Quack Lives Matter. Too many charlatans in this world. Doesn't matter where you're at. You have to expect this. People disagree. Please have your merits. Send it to me. Or even to James Simpson, which is okay. Free speech is good. But always back it up with merit. All right, finally. It's almost that time. And this one here actually came from Truth Out. I haven't really been keeping tabs on them. Like only a few things. But we follow each other on Twitter, which is pretty cool. They probably say, "Who's this guy? Look like the third." They appreciate it. We'll have a good discussion now and then, an honorable discussion, not mudslinging one another, but principle. We could go by principle. And they got some good stuff too. So I'll be very fair. This one's entitled "Obama's Last State of the Union and the Myth of Bipartisanship" by the Daily Take Team. President Barack Obama delivered his final State of the Union address at the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. on January 12, 2016. After 7 years in the White House, President Obama still hasn't learned his lesson about Republicans. In case point, see a conclusion to last night's State of the Union address. Looking back on his time as commander-in-chief, the president regretted that he had done had not done more to change our country's broken political system. Someone with the political gifts of Lincoln or FDR might have been able to do so, he said, but not him. The idea here is that Lincoln and FDR were great presidents because they brought people together and forced them to make compromises. In other words, President Obama thinks that Lincoln and FDR were great presidents because they were bipartisan. This is just flat out wrong. What made Lincoln and FDR great wasn't the fact that they made compromises with their enemies. What made them great was the fact they fought their enemies and supported policies that were right, even if they made people on the other side of the aisle really, really angry. Probably sounds a little bizarre to some people. Bipartisanship, or at least the myth of bipartisanship, is so ingrained in our culture that many Americans forget what it really took great presidents to become great. This is especially true in the case of Abraham Lincoln. Although leanings were always towards compromise, the things we most remember him for, funding the Civil War, signing the Emancipation Proclamation, and passing the 13th Amendment, happened when he stopped being moderate and embraced the radicals in his party who wanted him to become more, not less partisan. FDR similarly was the opposite of the bipartisan. He was ultimately a fighter, and he kicked Republicans in the butt and took their lunch money too. Well, we could talk about that. I'll just keep on going here. Listening to his speeches now is actually pretty shocking. Not only did he call Republicans out for being shills for the super rich and robber barons, but he also called them the enemies of the people and the enemies of democracy. It sounds like a comedian. Good grief. But Drone Man, he can do whatever he wants, right? Because he's Barry Soetoro. Tragically, although, it's still very much true. President Barack Obama would never talk like that. A great example, Roosevelt, at the top of his game in his speech he gave on Halloween night in 1936, just 3 days before being elected onto his second term as president. In that speech, he promised to keep on fighting his Republican enemies and the corporate elites they represented, telling his New York City audience that he welcomed their hatred, talking like the reason FDR was elected president 4 times. It's the reason why he was arguably the greatest president in U.S. history. I have to disagree. That man was a big control freak and a centralizer, and a puppet as well. Just like Lincoln in a lot of areas. But I will continue. Being a great president doesn't mean making compromises with the enemies of democracy who have always existed in this country, and this point in time just happened to control the Republican Party. Being a great president means fighting the enemies of democracy head on, as Lincoln did, and he went at his best, and the FDR did the entire time he was in the White House. In fact, that President Obama doesn't understand that at his greatest flaw, especially because today's Republicans are as determined to undermine democracy as any faction in American history. And that's no exaggeration, because it was literally planned to sabotage Obama's presidency the very first day it began. All I gotta say is, look at President Obama's track record before he ran for president. Then we'll come back and talk. In January 20th, 2009, a night when Obamas were dancing at the inaugural ball, a group of Republicans were planning the end of Obama's presidency before it got seriously going. At the Caucus Room restaurant in Washington, D.C., they drew up a plan to intentionally sabotage Obama at every point possible. On the guest list for his invitation only meeting were Republican senators like James DeMint, John Kyle, Tom Corbin, John Ensign, and Bob Corker. Also attended were Congressman Paul Ryan, Pete Sessions, Jeb Hesnarling, Pete Heckostra, Dan Lugren, Eric Cantor, and Kevin McCarthy. You know, it's funny. I see Eric Cantor in person. He looked like too much he was like a glam boy with all his tons of makeup. And he was like campaigning for Eric Rubio. He sounded like an evangelist. America needs Marco Rubio. Florida needs Marco Rubio. That was like doing hallelujah. That happened down in Fort Lauderdale, by the way. Broward County Convention Center to be exact. Over the course of 4 hours, this group of powerfully white conservative lawmakers committed to plan of action. They promised each other that they would filibuster and obstruct any and all legislation supported by the United States' first black president, Barack Obama. As Mitch McConnell bragged, they would also do anything possible for as long as it took to make his a failed president. Newt Gingrich, who was also there in the caucus room, admitted a few years later that Republicans were actually intentionally trying to sabotage the Obama administration. The framers of the Constitution had a word for this kind of politics. They call it sedition. There can be no compromising with the people who practice sedition. With hundreds of millions of dollars of billionaire money at their disposal, today's Republicans are as dangerous as any group of economist royalists in U.S. history. They have to be fought, not bargained with. President Obama probably understands this better now, but he didn't understand it for most of his presidency, and he still apparently thinks that bipartisanship should be the end goal of our political system, even though it is obvious to everyone who's paid attention and that in today's world, compromise first politics are a recipe for disaster. And I will say this. Yeah, Barack Obama, you know, he was a patsy, a bellboy, a scapegoat. They're going to try to blame him for everything. That's true. But I am not impressed with the man, not because of his skin color, or he's a mulatto, or he's a Democrat. Okay, I've seen his voting record. He supports the USA Patriot Act. Come on, the guy hates the Bill of Rights culture, just like the neocons. The man's a fool. And those other clowns in there, Mitchell McConnell and Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich is a member of the Council of Foreign Relations. Come on, all the world's a stage. Both parties are from two separate wings by the same vulture. And what really gets me, they talk about how great FDR was. He's a big government guy, and Lincoln was very streaky himself. So when the southern states seceded, he attacked them without there was no congressional approval on a declaration of war, maybe a resolution. That was it. Do your homework, my friends. But on the other hand, with Lincoln, he got the bankers mad. He tried to get the banksters. He tried to get the loans from the banksters for the Civil War, for the so-called war between the states. Okay, the war against the Confederacy, and of course, if they go, we'll give you the money, but you got to pay us back 35% interest. He almost fell off his chair. So what happened was the Secretary of Treasurer goes, hey, we'll go to Congress. They can regulate money. So he used greenbacks, interest-free money. So in my observation, this is why Lincoln was assassinated. But that's another story. As far as I'm concerned, bipartisan political parties are dangerous. Okay? George Washington warned us about it during his farewell address. And of course, the big banks, Goldman Sachs, a few others, they are funding both parties, both members of Congress, candidates, and all that. So, calling them out, to me, is completely irrelevant. But people are going to say Barack Obama is the worst president ever. I go, you know what? He's just part of the bargaining chip. Another bellboy, another puppet. Or other words, a bend over Bob to New World Order. Just like his predecessor, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George Herbert Walker, etc. We can make a difference, the people of the United States. We don't have to go to Washington, D.C. for everything. We got to denounce from the local and state level to say, no, we are not a corporation, but a constitutional republic. I addressed that in U.S. Codes. Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 3032, Subsection 15. That's the first thing we got to do. Got to get the Federal Reserve out of our money system. That's what's hurting us. And Franklin Roosevelt never take the initiative on getting rid of them. And they call him a great president? I don't think so. Of course, Executive Order 1966. So that's pretty insulting in my view. I haven't really watched the State of the Union address anyway because I'm not impressed by this man at all. He read from a teleprompter. Someone write this stuff for him. He's like, come here, boy. They throw a bone, he'll fetch it. Just an example. President Obama. That's just an example, okay? So, you know what? That is really it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this episode. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, compliments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, or send me something that's interesting, pretty cool to check out, etc. However, please send your correspondence with decorum. Which even one who criticized, I appreciate it. It's all good. Okay, I'm not mad at all. But at least you can put your 2 cents in, do it in good faith. Now that's great. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, World Truth, YouTube, and Scene.life. Or you can email me at LokiLuck3 at gmail.com. All my footnotes will mainly be on Spreaker unless others, but if it's not on other sites, it'll link to it'll go to my Spreaker page. You'll find all the footnotes. Okay. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Ooh, sorry about that. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.